After England defeated the French at the Battle of Bremule, Normandy was back in King Henry's hands. But 1 year later, his good fortune turned to tragedy. In 1120, his son and heir William Adelin died in a shipwreck. The future of Henry I's kingdom was in jeopardy. Henry desperately needed a new heir. With no legitimate sons left alive, he broke with tradition and chose his daughter, Matilda. Henry forced his barons to swear an oath to accept Matilda as queen. But when the king died, they broke their promise. England would not be ruled by a woman. Matilda's cousin Stephen saw his chance and claimed the throne. The crisis moved to the capital. At Westminster Abbey, Stephen was crowned king, but Matilda wanted what was hers. She was also lining up powerful supporters who would fight Stephen for her right to rule. Their conflict engulfed England in civil war. Fighting raged throughout the land. In 1141, everything focused on one of the kingdom's most strategic cities, Lincoln. Matilda's allies had commandeered the castle. But King Stephen was determined to take it back. He besieged the castle. Stalemate. As dawn broke on February the 2nd, everything was about to change. Matilda's half-brother, Robert of Gloucester, raced to break the siege. As Robert's forces approached Lincoln, Stephen's army turned away from the castle to face them. Robert could win Matilda the crown, but only if his army could win the day. Robert of Gloucester's forces approached Lincoln. Their task, to liberate the castle from King Stephen's siege. While behind Lincoln's walls, troops loyal to Matilda held the castle for the Empress. First, Robert's forces would stage an ambush to prevent enemy reinforcements from joining with King Stephen's army. Robert's men concealed themselves in a sheltered grove and lay in wait for the enemy.
Ik ga weer van de telefoon!
Robert defeated the first column of Stephen's reinforcements, but he knew more were on the way.
Ich obey thine hess. Yerewe for blood on ich for thethin hess. Hessa shouldn't be hearing. What wilt thou? Ich obey thine hess. Ich do a sua thu hättest. Send dem et mina wekes. Ich sua hessa ariata.
Ich forfeit in hess.
Ich obey thine hess. Hessa shouldn't be hearing.
Vendus is sending nearby! It's sailed the boat!
Ich obey thine hess.
The fleet has been acting upon us!
With more of Stephen's reinforcements eliminated, Robert was steadily undermining the siege.
Hessa shouldn't be hearing. Ich sua hessa ariata. Ich sua hessa ariata. Ich forfeit in hess. Hessa shouldn't be hearing. Ich obey thine hess. Ich do a sua thu hättest.
It's sailed the
Ich
boat!
forfeit in hess.
Beyond this hours! Tacken upp för jorden! Every
Robert's men decimated King Stephen's reinforcements and were poised to break the siege. Continuing the push towards Lincoln, Robert sent in a large company of reinforcements to aid his vanguard. To further weaken the siege, Robert would need to cut off Stephen's supplies. He targeted the nearby market town.
Send them into mina wekes.
Till dwindle. Better.
Ich kann du.
Ich habe found the boat!
Matilda's cause, a large group of knights arrived at Lincoln to bolster Robert's army.
Ich habe found the
With the market town in ruins, King Stephen's supplies began to dwindle. Robert received word that Welsh troops under Matilda's banner were en route to join forces with him. But King Stephen had the roads to Lincoln heavily guarded, and the route was not without risk, even for the hardy Welshmen. Making their way to Lincoln, Matilda's Welsh allies were ambushed by the king's soldiers. Robert's men would need to aid the Welsh if they wanted their help in breaking the siege. Joining forces on the road to Lincoln, Matilda's allied troops made for the castle to lift the siege.
Fortfarande fräckes, mit valdenes! Vi shall leda. Fortfarande fräckes, mit valdenes. Ich liebe to hear it. Read it through, Tullus. At mina wörda färd, I shall lead. Ut read it through, Tullus. Attempted to serve. At mina word, färd. I shall lead. Fortfarande fräckes, mit valdenes. Today is none burden.
Robert's forces spotted a large detachment of Stephen's soldiers guarding the castle gates. If they hoped to liberate Lincoln, they would need to break the blockade and rout the army.
Defenders, isena nirbi!
Andente to serve. Each libe to hear. Certes. Today is none burden. Today is none burden.
Robert's forces scattered the king's army, leaving the gates to the castle unguarded.
Certes.
Robert's men finally united with Lincoln's garrison. They could now use the castle to strengthen their army. To lift the siege, they needed to destroy the enemy camps surrounding the castle.
Freckes haken, nu hästes. Titwin left. Yeah, hästes. Stämmer to it, arbemen. Hästes en on, Astiria. Fram. Hästes kommer. En däck. Suet för hem. Hästes kommer, arbemen. Stämmer to it, arbemen. Yeah, hästes.
Matilda's forces struck hard, destroying one of King Stephen's siege camps. King Stephen's army dwindled as Matilda's forces struck down another siege camp. The king's army was scattered, and those who didn't fall fled. King Stephen was spotted, shielded by his men. To end the siege, Matilda's forces needed to capture Stephen and rout his army. Matilda's men closed in and finally captured King Stephen. Matilda's forces had won the battle at Lincoln. But the fight for the crown was not over yet. Victory over King Stephen at Lincoln gave Matilda the upper hand in her fight for the English crown. But in the years that followed, fragile loyalties shifted, and under threat of capture, Matilda was forced to retreat. As her holdings in England came under attack from the king's army, it fell to her son Henry to keep Matilda's claim to the throne alive. Inside the strong stone walls of the castle at Wallingford, Matilda's men held firm against a brutal siege by forces loyal to King Stephen. King Stephen's army had constructed a fortified perimeter outside the castle, trapping Matilda's men inside. However, reinforcements were on the way, from Matilda's son Henry. Her forces needed to hold the walls until they arrived.
Hestes for Allah here. Forward, Egre Tulkas. Hestes cometh our men serve yet. Heriende Hestes nu. Hestes en orkbormen. Upp ner färre highwaymen. Dresset jou har. Ik kan det du. Fjärre Hestes. Beuflipeli. Boa. On the Hestes en orkbormen. At Switzer, yes. Jeppe men. Have me bow. Verende. Boa is the boom highwaymen. Gongende is bad. War of servant shattered.
Every charge and tender. Hearkeneth, Arler. Buildende that retanu. Ikil builde that for they. Ikil habby that he building enough. Buildende that retanu. What needeth Bayondon?
Hoping to claim Wallingford, King Stephen's siege forces launched a renewed attack on the castle.
Dresset jou highwaymen. Steppet to it out here. Hest foliende hest. Hestes cometh highwaymen. Asteriat. Brate highwaymen. Claw. No hestes in the heart. Read it through.
Get them to swing them soon, foe!
Yeah, Hestes. Steppet to it highwaymen.
To folk, we have it steadest to bay to folk.
Seat the Hestes. Hearkeneth Allah.
You're right, you've done some work.
Frekkers, ik'll do that. Jeppe med og bort. This is a mickle matter. I am for
What needeth Bayoth yarn to Hester's tomb folk? Delphing.
And a fresh market.
Matilda's forces repelled the attack and held the castle. Hoping to crack the mighty stone walls of Wallingford, King Stephen's forces launched another attack. Matilda's forces held firm against the attack, cutting down the enemy soldiers.
If you'll have it, that he building a knock.
Trekkers,
Et beheste, ferre.
Kempis, lusted for hestes. We aren't going the Tulkas.
Something to
Address it yourself. They are kid. We are fortgangen intended new Tulkas.
Housing done.
Warrock servant chef.
Cease to Hestes. Deltende is meanly. Arita, what needeth work? Two toes army ready.
But
What needeth be undone? Toon folk, we are fair neuter, toon folk. He'll build that for thee. Hearken at valor. It comes to Delvin. Build them they that
Be ready for heste. Crossbow, crossbow, British weapons.
Hestes for Akuma mid-May, Breakers.
Hey, every John, intended. You go hobby that he building it on.
every charm and 10 deaths. He'll build that for thee. Build that return. He'll have that he building anon.
See they the worker.
God swinkerer being made.
What needeth be undone?
Yare to don some worker. See thee to work it.
And seal ye building thing.
See thee to ye. So they hatten. Build they that return.
Get thee ready for Hestes. He shall lay it.
Agretes for Hestes. Moving, getteth busy.
Matilda's forces received word that Henry's troops were getting closer to Wallingford. Soon the combined numbers of the two armies could tip the scales in their favor.
What needeth be undone? Cease to Hestes.
At last, Henry's reinforcements approached Wallingford. United under Matilda's banner, the two armies were ready to engage Stephen's forces.
What needeth beyond?
Look how you ut readeth nu, Tullis. Certes. Dute is none borden. What? And them head to sight. Weapons in.
Done some work.
Rita, what needeth work?
Hearkeneth all. You can build me that for that.
Yeah.
Intended.
Get it to Swington, Toonfolk. Ik he'll go and flock a wood. Where art there an Uter, Toonfolk? Ik he'll have that he building a knock. See on min way. Ik he'll build a that for they.
See they to work.
Balding done. Hit
I think they listen.
and Sealy in building.
Now they is Save the Hestes.
Jeffe mij meer Hestes.
Ik wil build that for they.
Look at jou at mina woorden vel. Alles witten. Fort warde frekkes, mit baldenes. At mina woorden vel. Fort warde frekkes, mit baldenes. Vi shall lede jou. It is sitha for actus. Und readeth nu, Tullis. Nu, Tulke, fort warde frekkes, mit baldenes. Yet thee ready for Hestes.
Send them at the minute. Hestes shall be here.
Fin Hestes?
What needeth be undone?
Every charn and 10 dead.
Look at jou weer die ready, frekkes. It is Sita for actors. Knitters, it's living. I pray that me word fell. Knitters, ja! For water frekkes, mit baldenes. Nu, Tulkes, set it ja. It's living to hear. He shall day ja. Set it ja.
Matilda's forces struck out at the besieging army, weakening the enemy's hold on Wallingford's perimeter. The enemy line wavered as Matilda's forces cut down the besieging army, clearing another section of the blockade. Matilda's forces overwhelmed the enemy and cleared the castle's perimeter.
Harkeneth all, we'll do that now. I think they listen her.
The joint forces of Matilda and Henry had thwarted King Stephen's siege of the strategic castle at Wallingford. After over a decade of conflict, Matilda's claim to the throne was still alive.